Hello guys, we are here today at KamCon for our locals tournament. We have our player, Manveer, here, and he's going to show us what deck he brought and what he's playing. Manveer, what do you got?
Hey guys, so here at KamCon, wonderful day, super great turnout for the tournament. We're on Tenpai, went 4-0 undefeated, and yeah, I'm just here to break it down for you guys. What got me my first place? So starting off with the main deck here, for your Tenpai cards, you're playing 3 Chundra. Uh, Definitely like the most critical Tenpai. He's the one that gets you the other Tenpai in the damage step. He's the level 4 tuner. You always max out on Chundra. This is pretty self-explanatory. Next up, a little unconventional. I'm on 3 Genroku. Most people play 2 or 1. I like 3 because Genroku is literally every other Tenpai name because he has the effect to quick effect, tribute himself, summon any other one from the deck. And if you add him, like let's say you add him off like Hyman, if you add him off of Prosperity, anytime you add him by not drawing him, you actually get the chance to summon him as a level 4 tuner as well. And so he becomes an additional level 4 tuner. Or you can give him level 3 tuner depending on what the situation. But I like maxing on Genroku. Also, simple fact matters that he dodges the Imperm, he dodges the Veiler. He only really loses to the Ash when it comes to the hand trap, so I like maxing out on Genroku. Um, Next up, we go up to 2 Pydra. Pydra, conventionally, you do play at 3, but I decided to go for 2 and just add the additional one to the third Genroku. Pydra gets you your field spell. That's crucial. He searches your Kaiman. And most importantly, like he does get you that no battle damage taken. So in time, he does come up a lot. But overall, like you definitely like would play 2 to 3 of them. I would never go below that count. And then the final Tenpai name is Fadra. Fadra is really important. Most people play 1. I think 1 is really incorrect. I definitely think you should have 2 in deck. Especially if you're main decking Shifter, you should have 2 in deck. Fadra is the one that revives from grave, and he's the one that prevents battle destruction. So he's the one that you like usually summon off Chundra, just if in case Chundra is crashing into something higher than him, you summon him off Chundra in the damage step, and he will protect Chundra from destruction. So he's the one that keeps your Tenpais alive. He's also really good, just like if you're like in a weird game state, you make a seals or something. Summoning off seals gets the other Tenpai out, and just gets you, back to the races again. So I definitely think 2 Fadra is mandatory in my opinion. But that's our Tenpai names. And moving on to our Tenpai spells, we are on, of course, Triple Kaiman, the quick play. Effect to add a Tenpai or special summon from hand. If it's in the battle phase, you can do both. Simply put, this is your 3 of mandatory, E-Telly, like Searcher, Starter, like you got to have it. Beauty of this is like because of Genroku coming out, right? A cool interaction is like if you want to play around the draw, this deck doesn't really lose to draw, but if you want to play around it regardless, draw phase, you can pop the Kaiman, add the Genroku, and then Genroku in the draw phase will activate. You can special summon him, tribute him, get Pydra, search Pydra, draw phase. So you're always playing around draw. So it's just really good in that sense. So yeah, like Kaiman, gotta play it. Next up, one of field spell. It's limited for a reason. This spell is busted. The field spell absolutely broken. What you do is like it does so much. It facilitates so much. Main phase, when you're doing all your Tenpai plays, this protects all your Fire Dragon monsters, not just your Tenpai. So any Fire Dragon you summon, let's say you summon your Black Rose Dragon to try and board wipe your opponent. This will protect it from like things like Imperm, Veiler. It's got limited to 1 for a reason. Most importantly, this is crucial, especially because this is a Shifter deck. This will help you OTK through Shifter because when this gets popped, it will double the attack of any Dragon Synchro. So always having access to this is important. And just like this is definitely like your primary thing to bait out Ash or whatever. So yeah, you're 1 of field spell, you gotta have it. Speaking of the field spell, terraforming searches the field spell. You want to have access to it. Prosperity also limited to 1. Great card. It helps you dig into side pieces. If you have an awkward hand, helps you dig even deeper. The fact that it makes you like your opponent take half damage doesn't really matter because with Tenpai you can output over like 20, 30k damage. So it doesn't matter. It's lethal anyways. Next up for the hand traps, Ain't no party like a shifter party. This card needs to get addressed. This card needs to get hit in some way, shape, or form because this card is just unfair. You If they make you go first, you just pop it in draw phase. You're going second, you pop it in the draw phase. There, it's GG's for most decks. Like most decks cannot play through this card, and the fact that we can play through it and we can still OTK through it is bonkers. So like if you're playing any hand trap, you should definitely be maining the shifter. And if you're not maining it, definitely side it. But I think this is a main deck card regardless. Now, a little controversial. I'm playing 3 of Droll. So why like Droll can't activate under shifter, but my mentality is that like these are basically your game over hand traps. Like this banishes every card sent to the graveyard. This prevents your opponent from adding from deck to hand, right? So if you open any one of these going second, you basically kind of have a game over hand trap. Like so, I figured might as well have Droll in main. It's too good to not have it, and it can hit basically every deck. Like these two hit almost every single deck. So definitely having these. You could opt to not play the Droll because again, if you open Droll and Shifter, you can only really activate one or the other because you know you can't use Droll under Shifter because it has to hit the graveyard, and Shifter needs to have no cards in graveyard to activate. So definitely, some people would cut this out, maybe play like Droplet instead, or like play like an additional like board breaker or something. But I like playing Droll because again, you open any one of these, it's game over. Next up, just generic hand traps. Ash Blossom, it's Ash, stops the search, stops the summon from deck, and then Imperm, it shuts down the monster effect. These all work with Shifter because they don't need to hit the grave. You just discard them, and so these are all synergy with Shifter. Um, it wouldn't be tempo at some burgers. This is mostly like this is for my locals. Like this is just a locals call. Normally you wouldn't be main decking a kaiju because they're not really good overall in the format. But this is mostly against my locals because my locals, most of the guys put up some sort of towers or they put up some sort of like unaddable. Like I know a couple guys are on Pirelli, so just this gets rid of Noir. I'm going second anyways, and I can beat over a Gamma Seal no problem. This also gets rid of like annoying floodgates, like you know, um, just like the one Fiends, not Fiends, but the for Chimera when they put up the I forgot her name, but the white girl that the female equivalent Diabells when they put up Diabells and you have to set cards. It's the anti spell. This just outs it. If a couple guys in a voiceless voice, you just drop this on like their Ceravis or on their Skull Guardian. Deals with this is just a local skull. If in general, if my locals didn't have this in account, I'd play like 3 Dark Hole, just blow up the board. Honestly, I'd play something better, but yeah, you know. Or honestly, you can go 2 Fenrir and then Kashir Fenrir, 1 Pressure Planet, and just have Fenrir because that's good going first or second. But this is just a locals call. But board breakers, I recommend in general. Eclipse, beautiful card. Uh, Basically, Book of Moon everything. It gets over cards that would otherwise have destruction protection or targeting protection. This just blanket books the entire field, and you can just make a Black Rose blow it up afterwards. Everything's face down, doesn't matter. The only thing, and this is beautiful because it's a quick play. You can chain it. This can help you dodge imperm and stuff. Another thing too is that this is ash bait. Like if your opponent wants to preserve the board, you're getting the ash out their hand. So you know for a fact, like, okay, if you open this and like the other board breaker, Regeki, they're gonna respond to this, right? And you definitely bet out an interruption with that, and then you just drop this. It's usually GG. And these are all not once per turn board breakers, so you can just keep, if you have multiple, you can just use multiple. And yeah, I feel like like I said, if you're not sold on Gamma Seal, you can play like Dark Hole and just have additional destruction that way. Wrapping up, we have 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Duster. This is basically the 4th copy of Raigeki or the 2nd copy of Duster. I definitely think you should have these two in main, either 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Duster, or 1 and 1, because you definitely want to respect back row. You never know what you're coming up against. Definitely want to have it. So that's that. And then final 40th card. We're playing 40 cards. Want to keep it as clean and concise as possible. Talents. Uh, Talents is just another board breaker. It's a draw two. It's a loop out of your opponent's hand, or it can be a change of heart, snatch, steal. It's just overall a good board breaker to have. I would play 2. If you want to go to 41, this is not a bad 41st card to have if you're playing 2 of this. But yeah, droplet. That's the main deck. Clean 40. Nothing really I would change, honestly, other than just Gamma Seal. But going on to the extra deck, pretty standard stuff. 2 Bident Dragon, 2 Transcendent. Sometimes people play 1. I think you should have 2. In case you run into the Kashira like Unicorn where they're banishing it out your extra deck, definitely having two. This guy's just bonkers. This guy says no in the battle phase. Your opponent can't activate cards or effects. And once he hits the field, it's basically you have guaranteed game. And running off the Tempai stuff, Trident Dragon. Luckily, bro got a reprint. He's not expensive anymore. You're not going, like 180 bucks out of pocket for him. You can get him for way cheaper. Definitely should have him. I've seen some lists cut him. He's just good to have because he can just close out games in a pinch. But yeah, that's your Tempai synchros. Next up, we're on a Black Rose package. We're playing the one OG, one Moonlit, one Ruddy. Black Rose Dragon, OG card, blow up the entire field. Like I said, you drop a Book of Moon, a Book of Eclipse on them. Sorry, a Book of Eclipse on them. Drop this, their board's gone. Moonlight, basically, if you're kind of in an awkward situation where they make you go first and you want to have another interruption, or you're playing against something that like is super annoying, you can't beat over, you can just summon this and bounce it back to hand. And then when your opponent, if this is like you can't OTK and you make this end on this, right? Your opponent goes, they special summon something, you can just bounce it back with this. So it's just another interruption. It's like basically a third copy of Seals. Next up, Ruddy Rose. Very rarely comes up, but when it does, I think you should have this. This card's insane. This card, you summon it, banish everything from both graveyards. From some decks, like Snake Eyes, Yubel, which are still very meta relevant, like Yubel, Snake Eyes, obviously up there with Tampa as the tier 1 decks. Just yeeting your opponent's entire graveyard is great. Also, I've done this before where I make Black Rose, yeet both graveyards, and then I just drop another shifter if I open 2, and then they're on their shifter again. So great, they don't have a graveyard regardless. But yeah, Black Rose package, I love it. I think this is staple in any extra deck. Next up, Quibel. So this guy, you summon him, generic, target a card on the field, pop it, right? He's how you OTK through Shifter. Because what you do is you make Quibel under Shifter. Hopefully your opponent doesn't have much of a board, or if they do have a board, your Tampais must clear them. You summon Quibel, you actually target your Sangan Summoning as a card you're going to pop. You pop Summoning. Summoning, when it's destroyed, it doesn't care if it hits Graveyard or if it hits the Banish. As long as it's destroyed, what it'll do is during the battle phase, it'll target a Dragon Synchro you control, double its attack. So now you pop this with Quibel, you target Quibel with Summoning, it's not 5k. Normally with your Tempais, you basically can get lethal right then and there. This is 5k, this gets over a lot of things easy, and that's basically how you get through Shifter. So yeah, definitely want to have the one of in your extra deck. Next up, Samurai Destroyer. This is against Yubel. This is strictly a Yubel matchup card. This shuts down the Yubels during the battle phase. They can activate their effects. If they somehow out it, you just Ghost Grave, bring it back. Yubel has a hard time dealing with this card. It's killer for them. That's it for the Synchros. Next up, we're going on to a Link package. I'm on 1 Striker Dragon, 2 Seals, and an SP. So some people are honestly just, they kind of worry about Dimension Barrier, which shuts down your synchro plays. And so they'll play something like the Hida, the Promethean, and the Zelantis OTK. I don't like that because with Hida, you need to have, it's dependent on your opponent having a fire in the grave. If they don't have a fire in the grave, it doesn't do anything. So, and also I play Dragon Link as my main deck. If you're playing a Dragon deck, you play 2 Seals. I've seen some Tempai decks playing 1, just play 2. It's a free bounce. It's a free summon from deck. You should always play 2. And honestly, you can just, it's a free banish off Prosperity. Anyways, like, it's just, you should play 2. And then SP is SP, man. Like, target a card, banish it. You can change your opponent's effects. Shout out to my boy Vito for letting me borrow his. Never came up once, but it's always good to have. And then final card in the extra deck for our 15th card, Typhon. This could be any other flex spot you want. It could be Odd Eyes as another synchro card. It could be, another Link. You could play like Underworld Goddess, right? Typhon's good because, awkward game states, you just summon a card, slap this on top, and then you're basically putting your opponent under a floodgate. They can't, monster effects over 3k can't activate, and then you can just bounce a card too. So, yeah, that's the extra deck.
What is your favorite deck card in the deck?
Favorite card in the deck? Oh man, it has to be my MVP. It has to be Chandra. This he does it all. Chandra the field spell.
It's a gnarly combo.
It's just you need, like, yeah, if you open Chandra, it's basically GG's. Yeah, but going off to the side deck, everybody's side deck's different. It's kind of locals dependent, but this is what I was running today. Again, shout out to the boy Vito, 3 Mulch Armies. Well, this is Boneless Maxi. You're probably going to see this card less once the new one comes out in Rage of the Abyss, Fluoros, but this is good. I didn't main deck it because, like, sometimes some of the guys know me, if they think that I'm on Tenpai, they'll make me go first. And then like honestly, just having this going first kind of sucks because you want to make some sort of board, but going games 2 and 3 when you know you're going second, you're guaranteed to go second. This card's amazing because it's a guaranteed draw one. Because who doesn't normal summon in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? So you're guaranteed an upstart at least, and honestly, this puts a lot of pressure and also works under Shifter. Doesn't need to hit the grave. So this and Shifter is basically GG's. Time card goes to Spooky Dogwood. Another maxi type card. Anytime your opponent special summons, you gain life equal to the attack of the monster. We have time rules in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? You gotta have something to respect the time rules, right? If you go into game 3, this deck, technically speaking, you shouldn't go to game 3. And if you do go into game 3, you shouldn't go into time because your opponent should be dead by then. But just in case, good to have the time card. Next up, the boy Pankertops. He's semi-limited, and he's a great card to have. I love Pank. Probably MVP of the side deck. Your opponent has cards that are just annoying. Special summon him, tribute him for cost, out a card. He puts a lot of pressure on the enemy because like now they have to worry about this guy quick effect popping something, and he's also a 2600 body, right? So he's just great to have. Great flex on the extra deck. Drago. This guy is probably, if we're talking about favorite card in the side deck, this is my favorite card in the side deck. This guy shuts down any light or dark deck, which is your Voiceless Voice and your U-Bell. Fiendsmith is dead under this guy. You summon him off seals. Funny enough, I've opened him in my hand every time after siding, so he doesn't stay in my deck. So I just normal summon him. And usually people just like yeah, they can't out him, right? They have to waste an imperm on him, waste a droplet on him, right? He's just clutch. Yeah, he's just great to shut out. And the thing is, my deck is all fires, right? So we have no interaction with him. So if you're on Senpai, side deck this guy. You need him. Next up, Droplet. If Shifter is not good, and like I know if I don't know if I'm going first or second, or if my opponent's gonna make me go first or something, this card's just the one you want to side in. I sided this in almost every single time because I knew my opponent was gonna make me go first. Because again, for those who are not on Tenpai, looking to play against Tenpai, if you lose against them, make them go first. After siding, make them go first. They suck going first, but if you are going first as Tenpai, this is probably what you're going to be siding in besides your Regeki or your board breakers. But Droplet's great. Droplet helps you make you dodge Imperm as well because you can just send your Tenpai and still get the effect off and then just blanket negate. Doesn't target, shuts everything out. And beauty of it, reduces everything's attack. So it reduces their attack by half, so you have an easier way to OTK. So Droplet's really good. And next up, final card, 3 Cosmic, back row hate. You know, you gotta respect the back row, gotta respect the trap cards. I shutting down like field spells. Like field spells are really good continuous spells. A lot of good continuous spells in the game. A lot of good continuous traps like the voice to voice continuous trap. Pop that, pop their barrier, pop the my friend. Like it's just this, and this gets over Runic really importantly because Runic can protect, and Centurion their field spell protects. This just Cosmic's the best back row removal in the game. You pay the 1,000 life points. Doesn't matter. It's an easy tax to pay. Yeah, just get rid of that problem card. So great to have.
Thanks so much for sharing this with us.
All
today,
good.
man.
I appreciate it. And guys, remember, like and subscribe. Definitely local game store. Always support your local OTS. And yeah, like please, if anything, share the video. It helps, make the community grow. But yeah, thank you guys once again. And
We're Desert City Games, located in Kamloops, BC. Sundays at 1 o'clock, we play Yu-Gi-Oh! All day long. Join us at any time. Thank you, guys.